Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome. My name is Joe. I'm the design advocate at Lyssna. I'm your instructor guide today. And basically, I've been a product designer and researcher for over 10 years. I've worked on a whole bunch of different projects, especially in a long span of working as a freelance senior product designer. I've learned plenty of lessons along the way, learned them the hard way, and have a lot of experience with different industries, different team sizes, subject matter. And I try to bring that into all of these workshops. Definitely a lot of it in the stuff that we're going to work through today. My main thing for any workshop, whatever topic we're talking about, whatever research method we're learning about, I want to provide, these are my goals, to give you an enjoyable workshop. I know you guys are spending an hour out of your day or evening or early morning to be here when you could be doing plenty of other stuff. So these are the two big questions I'll ask you at the end of the workshop. Did you enjoy it? I hope time flies and it doesn't feel like a long, boring webinar, but something that's engaging, fun, and applicable. And more importantly, do you feel like a better, more confident designer, UX writer, researcher, whatever role you're in, than you did an hour ago? So those are my goals for today's workshop. I'll ask you those two big questions again once we wrap up, and I'll also give you some ways to provide some feedback for things we can improve on. All right, cool. So some tips for getting the most out of our workshop today. Number one, everything is recorded here on Contrast. That's going to be sent out shortly after the workshop. If you miss anything, if you have to get up and go get the door, grab a glass of water, everything will be in your inbox after this. And whether or not you're here the whole time or miss some of it, it'll all be there for you to review. And I'll also be sharing some more of the resources and kind of hands-on stuff that we're working through today. Next, keep the chat open and active. You guys have done a great job of that, as well as putting the screenshots in FigJam. Today is going to be hands-on. We're going to dive into a couple quick examples, let you work through some of the UX writing challenges that I set up. So whether it's the chat, FigJam, the overall message, participation is good, helpful for me, and also the best way to get as much as possible out of our time together. And finally, stay comfortable, hydrated, and happy. I got my big water bottle here. Make sure you're comfortable in a good, hopefully quiet environment. And if you need to get up to run to the bathroom, grab some water, do whatever to take care of yourself and be more focused, go for it. And of course, let me know if there's anything I can do to make it more comfortable and enjoyable for you. All right. Everyone good with that? Let's maybe give me a thumbs up in the... Oh, I don't know where the reactions went. Here. All good here. I'll type it in the chat. Sound good? Give me a thumbs up on that if it sounds good. And if you can still hear me, and see my screen. Nice. Excellent. Okay, cool. So let's get started with UX writing here. We are talking about UX writing. That is the title of this workshop, UX writing that gets results, simple tests for fast feedback. But UX writing, although something that's really been, I'd say, popularized in the spotlight recently over the past few years, is something that still has some vague borders and definitions. And I think there are a lot of factors to that, but one of them being that people, in addition to UX writers, in all different roles, are actually doing UX writing. Probably many of you here that are not hired in a full-time UX writing position. So I wanted to start off by just giving a super quick overview. I'm sure everyone here is pretty familiar with the big stuff with UX writing, and for some of the specifics, we're going to get into those in our example. But I wanted to set the stage for what we're talking about here. So when it comes to UX writing, unlike traditional marketing, which is one-way communication, apps, websites, digital experiences, the stuff we're working on and researching are two-way interactions or conversations with plenty of back and forth. So this doesn't necessarily mean it's a conversation as in a chatbot or some kind of chat type thing or AI experience, But even on a much, much simpler level, right? When you're, even think of a really old school website, like something from 25 plus years ago, where there's certainly no chatbots or advanced back and forth conversation, there's still a there is still a back and forth. It might be, are you sure you want to delete this file? Yes, no, save as a copy, something like that. Those simple interactions and the feedback and the words and language that's involved in that is something that has been constant and all throughout digital experiences. So whether it's a literal conversation or not, the words that you're writing, the way that you're communicating with your users through those is something that feels like a conversation and has a lot of the same characteristics in terms of helping them be successful, reach their goals, and improving your product. As the dead simple or simplest possible breakdown between something like traditional copywriting and UX writing or writing something for a digital experience, I wanted to highlight, I think, some of the big differences. Get away from like the naming like marketing copy, product copy, UX writing, and more so just get into the characteristics. When you think of traditional copywriting, a billboard to me is like the perfect quintessential example of that, in the sense that number one, it's one way, right? Drive past, walk past a billboard, see this Slack ad with a big headline where polishing the pitch deck happens. You receive that message if you read it, and that's about it. Maybe you check out Slack later. Maybe it just lives in the back of your brain until you're ready to think about Slack or how you want to polish your pitch deck. But there's no response, there's no interaction. With UX writing or stuff that we're talking about here, it's two-way back and forth conversation, like I mentioned, and it's continuous and everywhere, always throughout the product. I think after this workshop, hopefully, when you go back to whatever you're doing for work or checking your email or interacting with any digital product, maybe you'll notice a little bit more just the sheer amount of back and forth, right? Things that you're doing, responses or choices that you're getting, the amount that you're reading, even if it's in little bits like some of these Slack messages down here, it doesn't read as a traditional conversation, but it is in a different sense more so just drawn out over the entire life cycle of interacting with a product. So you might not think of it as, or you might be so used to some of those experiences, you might not think of it as UX writing or a conversation, but maybe you will a little bit more after this workshop. Some other differences: traditional copywriting, like a billboard, like a banner ad, uses often emotional, attractive language, whereas UX writing is going to often be more descriptive, product specific, tailored to the situation and the user, not as much aspirational, but more functional. And that gets to the last point down here where I have a typo, where traditional copywriting more about sales, marketing, and promotion, whereas UX writing is more about usability, overall experience, and as I said, functionality throughout the product and supporting the user towards their goals if they're doing a good job of it. I think the biggest thing that I like to point out with UX writing, especially just kicking it off, is that it's way more than just a nice to have or a vibe. It's something that can make or break the user experience and really have a massive impact on your product and how successful users are with it. Yes, a lot of the examples that you guys dropped into that UX writing board up there, and a lot of the products that are often highlighted as good UX writing do have a vibe. They do incorporate humor, friendliness, helpfulness, support, things that feel more human and personalized to you. So that's definitely a part of it. But I also want you to expand your thinking about UX writing beyond that into something that's a really powerful tool in functionality and in creating a positive user experience or making or breaking a user experience. And I put this example here from Slack. I made a little video that had something like this last week. But just as an example, there's this top message, send message, and trigger channel notifications, and a redesigned tweaked one I did below it that says, by using channel, before you send your message. You're about to notify 19 people in 7 time zones. Are you sure? We get some copy here or choices to edit the message, to send it now, some tips for shortcuts, and a little advice on where you can control this warning in the future. And I like this example here because it highlights in a small form the power and the functionality of UX writing as a design tool, where this is a nice little notification with our Rooster and kind of on-brand Slack language. But we can see compared to this one down here, when you go back and look at the top one, you realize that it leaves out some important details that could lead to a pretty bad experience. For example, notifying your 19 coworkers in 7 different time zones when you didn't actually mean to. So a little snippet, but I think a good one to get us in the zone of thinking about UX writing as a functional tool in addition to just good vibes and a voice or enjoyable tone that people like to interact with. Some other things to call out. I don't know why my GIF's not working here, but you guys all know what it looks like. You don't have to be a talented or let's say creative genius or copywriting guru to be a great UX writer. UX writing and doing it effectively and using writing and language to create a better experience and communicate more effectively with users is really a lot like any other aspect of the design process. It involves understanding their needs, behavior, the scenarios that they're in, testing, iterating, improving, as we're going to do in a minute, and being in tune with their experience, the different phases throughout it, and how that relates to the way that you communicate with them. So this is a question that I've got a lot, especially when I've hosted more beginner-oriented UX writing workshops, where I felt people have written me emails about this. They felt conscious about, hey, I'm not good at writing marketing copy. I'm not good at writing a catchy headline. So if anyone came into this workshop today, maybe feeling some hesitation around that, I hope you don't by the end of it. And I hope you get to see that it's really more so a process to follow and to implement into your day-to-day work than something like being a copywriting marketing whiz. Mainly, what I want you guys to see today, improving UX writing is one of the most efficient and impactful ways to improve your product. Improving your product and the user experience or your business goals is hard. Research takes time. You need buy-in. You might be trying to craft long studies. It's complex to get those findings and synthesize them into actionable insights. And then you have the whole other side of building new features, the timelines that go into that, the resources. It's tough, right? It's easy. It's simple in ways to understand your users and their goals and build stuff that supports those. But in reality, especially when it comes to new features and improving your product, that is time consuming, costly, requires a lot of prioritization. UX writing, I think of as like low hanging fruit. It's something that can have a huge impact on your product. As you'll see, it's something that you can get insights into and do research on fairly quickly and efficiently, especially with some of the tools that we're going to look at. And in terms of implementing it, a lot of times it's just changing text, right? Or close to that. I think of UX writing as, low hanging fruit or a really huge opportunity to make fast but high impact improvements to your product that in many cases could be even more impactful than like a new flashy feature or something that takes months to research and build. So hopefully you see it that way after our workshop today. Let me see. That's me. Just you, Dan, must be in the office. Let's see, Dan, freeze for anyone else. Okay, cool. Sorry, I should have that open. Massive improvement. Cool. Sound good, everybody? Put it in the chat. You guys can give me a thumbs up. Then we're going to get into our project here and our two mini lessons that we're going to work through together. Let me make sure everyone's good. I'm coming through clearly. Hopefully you can see my screen. Nice. Awesome. All right, so let's move down to our scenario. As I mentioned, we're gonna get hands-on here today. with kind of a demo project that I created and some UX writing examples that we're going to work through, test, look at some results through together. So this is what we're taking on for our mini projects today. We're taking on the role of the UX writing team, let's say, for HomeList, a platform for finding and hiring home improvement pros. So think of this like Angie, Thumbtack, I think is pretty similar to this. So we're going to use this. We're going to glaze over some of the details of the actual product, but we're going to use it as our baseline and our role to work through some of these UX writing challenges and make some improvements in a few scenarios. So we're going to cover 3 scenarios and how to test them, work together on improving them. I think we're going to do 2 and save the last one for homework so we can take some questions. But everything, as I mentioned, I want to focus on, when I was putting these examples together, I wanted to focus on things that are quick, effective, and impactful, getting away from the long, drawn out, complex research studies that are hard to connect to an end goal or improvement, and get right into some of this, as I said, low-hanging fruit, things that you can test quickly, implement quickly, and things that can make a big impact on the user experience and your product. All right, so we're going to start with a tree test, which I'll get into in just a second. And we're specifically going to focus that around UX writing. For example, we're going to see how confidently and seamlessly users can find what they're looking for. Then we're going to get into a 5-second test where I'll introduce this scenario. We'll look at some test results and we'll do some work, little light design work to improve it and measure the improvement that we made. As I said, preference test, I have some stuff saved for that, but I think we'll probably do that one for homework so we can spend a little more time on feedback, but we'll see how we do on these. All right, so let's get into our first one. So now we're coming down to this tree test section down here. Everyone with me? Once again, feel free to just follow along with the screen share, but I'll let you know when we're going to get into putting some stuff in this FigJam. All right, so we are working on HomeList. We're taking on the role of a big, let's see how many people are here, 77-person UX writing team for this one. We should have some good ideas here. And I'm going to give you some scenarios that we're going to work through together. The first one being a scenario that would be a great fit for a tree test. So here's the specific scenario that we're working on. Here's our dashboard, my mock-up dashboard of HomeList. And as you can see, without reading through everything or even like digesting what's in this dashboard, it's getting busy, right? There's a lot going on here. And we're going to say that we're experiencing a common problem, especially as a product expands and new features are added, which is that things get busy, navigation gets cluttered, and all of those new, or a lot of those new features and spaces, pages, functionality just get stuffed somewhere under some kind of generic menu in some weird settings page somewhere far away. And in the early stages of that, everything still looks pretty cohesive, still pretty easy to navigate. But as it starts to grow, it can actually add up to, I tried to make this as cluttered as possible, but something like this, where just at first glance, you might be able to tell that it's probably pretty complicated to navigate and there's a lot of stuff to look through in it. So we're going to work on a really simple change, a simple copy change to improve navigation and make it easier for users to find what they're looking for. In order to do that, we are going to use a tree test. And we're going to use a tree test in Lyssna, look at some results, and then share some examples of an improved version. Now, a tree test is a way to assess, refine information architecture, basically your navigation structure or the paths or hierarchy that a user would go through to get to something. So a tree test in how it's mainly used is to adjust or test, validate your information architecture, the pages, higher level pages and titles and how those drill down into some more specific categories. And we're not going to focus on that as much today. We're going to use a tree test in a slightly different, really more simple way to just make some changes to copy and labels and try to improve on how easy it is to find something in the platform. So tree test overall is going to be a great test, whether you're evaluating information architecture, hierarchy, or UX writing, the labels and titles of these categories, to understand how easy and or efficient it is for users to find what they're looking for. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So the example we have set up, let me come down here, this tree test here, which I'll pull up in a second, is for a user of home list, somebody who is using home list. They have maybe multiple home improvement, renovation projects, contractors that they're hiring through home list. And they have that big dashboard that we just looked at to manage all of the different jobs, projects, and stuff that comes along with it. So the test that I set up here, the tree test, is imagine that you want to reschedule a consultation for one of your upcoming home improvement jobs. Where would you, I should say, expect to be able to do this? So let me share this link with everyone here. If you haven't clicked on it already, I'll put it in the chat. But I'm going to have you guys just run through this tree test real quick. So let me share this in the chat, and I will give everyone a couple minutes to go through it. Let me share. I'm going to share this whole window, actually. There we go. Cool. So go ahead and click that link in the chat and pull it up. Let me know if anyone has any trouble accessing it, but you should be able to open that and participate in this tree test just like any other participant or research participant here. So let me give everyone 2 minutes to do that. I'm not going to give any instructions on it or any guidance on it. I'll let you figure that out for yourself. And when you're done, you can just give me a thumbs up on the message I just put in the chat. So take your time there, and when you're done, we'll look at some of the results and break down what we can learn from this tree test. And I'm not going to fill it out because I have already, so we're not going to double up on my responses. All right. Oh, we got a lot of responses for this one. Nice. Okay, so let me share these. Let me check on how we're doing with completion. We got 26 people completed it. Nice. Give me a thumbs up when you're done with that one. I'll give everyone another minute here. Do a quick refresh, and we'll take a look through the results together. All right. So before we go into the results, let's take a look at what we just did. The tree test that you just ran through, this one, is giving a little context about home list and what you're going to be looking at. And then we're getting our prompt. Imagine you wanted to reschedule a consultation for one of your upcoming home improvement jobs. Where would you expect to be able to do this? As you see, or as you just did, you can click through some of these navigation titles or hierarchical categories. And when you think you've found the place that you would do this task, I'd find it here. And that pretty much concludes the test and submits your response. So you can see, even if you've never done a tree test before or participated in one, that it can be really useful for a couple of reasons. Number one, breaking down the hierarchy or information architecture. So a tree test is something you might commonly do after a card sort. And maybe for this very cluttered navigation and this example we're working through here, something like that would be needed, right? Maybe we're not going to be able to fix everything by just changing some of the labels or wording on these categories. But we can use it to do that as well. If we have maybe a hunch as a product designer or researcher that things are getting a little confusing, if we're seeing that people are writing support tickets to try to figure out how to reschedule and consultation that they have, we might run a test just like that, super simple to set up, and see, actually put it to the test. Could people find what they were looking for, and how easy or difficult was it? So let's look at the results here. I put the link to this in the chat. Let me do that again just to make sure everyone's got it. And you'll be able to see the exact same results that I'm sharing with you right here. Okay, so we have our back end of Lyssna right here, and we have first our instruction that I provided, and then we have our tree test and our results. That typo is killing me up there. Where would you expect to do this? And then we have our results here. Let me refresh it one more time. So basically what we're looking at here is the number of responses, the success rate, and the directness. So this is the original cluttered site navigation for home list. So the place indicated by this check mark, or the page where you would be able to reschedule a consultation, would be under manage events. So when I created this study, I marked that as correct, and also another way to get to it, marking it as correct through your projects. So what we're seeing up here at a high level is the success rate. 35% of people who participated in this, you guys plus some about 20, 25 people I did before, were able to get to the end, actually to the right place, to pinpoint where you would theoretically reschedule that consultation. Then we're also seeing directness. So success rate's more, were people able to find what they were looking for? Directness is more about how easy was it to get there? Did they have to backtrack, or did they immediately know, I'm going to be able to reschedule my consultation for my kitchen remodeling in this section? And that's 18% over here. So we don't have a benchmark for this, but we could try to improve it and test it against what we have here. Overall, I would say we're seeing some signals. Again, we don't have anything to compare it to, that are showing us that this is not the most intuitive label or navigation structure. Yes, a lot of you guys just found this, and 35% of people were able to make the right guess of where they would be able to do this. But we're also seeing a lot of paths that go all over the place, a lot of backtracking, and a lot of different selections. Even if it was only for a few people, a wide variety of places where people would expect to be, pages where people would expect to be able to reschedule a consultation. So I would say from this, without pulling too much out of it, lots of room for improvement on this home list navigation structure and some of the labels. So let's go. This is what I just walked through here. Can use this. These were the results before. So you guys did a better job than the 20 participants who had a 19% success rate. But again, I'd say still pretty much the same takeaways. Room for improvement in success rate and directness for sure. Making it users feel more confident and it more seamless or intuitive to find the thing that they're looking for. In this case, how to reschedule an appointment. All right, so how would you improve it? I'm going to give everyone 2 minutes here. to get into this Fig Jam and jot down some Post-its and leave them on the side over here. If you're not in the Fig Jam, you can totally just put these in the chat. What I listed out here is the navigation structure and labels that you just looked at, knowing that these didn't test very well. We didn't get, a lot of people, majority of people didn't get to the correct spot, didn't find what they were looking for, or would have been in the wrong place had they been using it. And we had a lot of indirect paths, a lot of backtracking back and forth and checking out the different categories to see, could it be in here? Could it be in there? So even participants who did find it probably did a little digging based on the data we have. Here's your challenge. What would you change to make it easier, more intuitive for this specific task of helping users reschedule a consultation? We know that it's currently under events, manage events. Those are the correct answers marked here. Or you could access it through active projects, your kitchen project, kitchen remodeling, let's say, events, and manage events there. We got some thoughts going on Post-it. So I'm going to let you guys rock for, let's see, 2 minutes. Drop some thoughts in there. And again, we're not changing the hierarchy, structure, flow, anything like that. If you have some notes on that you would suggest or you would think might improve it, feel free to drop them in. But I want you to think more specifically just about writing, just changing a couple words that could be a path to easier navigation or a better, more intuitive navigation experience, especially to find your appointments and reschedule that consultation. All right, so take a minute and a half. Let you guys rock. Feel free to get messy with the Post-it notes wherever you can find space for them, and we'll take a look at a few. And I'll show you my version and some of the results from it. So yeah, don't peek at one. Yeah, tell me if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. But yes, how would you validate the changes? Exactly. Yeah, rerun the tree test. That's exactly what we are going to do and what I'm going to show you right after this. So yes, this is our baseline here. We're getting, I'd say, strong enough signal that there's room for improvement here, maybe with some quick UX writing changes, but we would put that to the test with some updates and another tree test. But yep, you got it. All right, nice. This is what I like to see, everyone. Keep dropping them in there, but I'm just going to go through a couple of these. So we have, let's see, some themes here. What are you guys thinking? Active projects, scheduled consultations from Dan. We have Isadora. Use sentence case in navigation to relax and tone it down. Bolder, different style, and umbrella folders for better scannability. Okay, I was about to say, Isadora, I want to see your examples for this one. Rename events to appointments or consultations, schedule or make an appointment, manage or reschedule an appointment, even see calendar. Love this. Great. Let's give you one of the Shaka. Nice answers, Isadora, giving a kind of structure for it and some examples. Let's see what everyone else had. Appointments. Timelines can also be confused with appointments or schedules. Yes, that was another thing I was thinking, the timelines. I threw that in there as a monkey wrench. Events, schedules. So some of you keeping this title of events, but then changing some of the wording. Artemis said scheduled events, consultations, upcoming consultations instead of project schedule. Maybe you can say manage schedule to imply that you can control the timeline. Nice. So I'm seeing some themes here, some good ones. Number one, making some changes to the labels on events. And we have some ideas of appointments. What were the other ones? Consultations, meetings, I think I saw. And then some other ideas, or additionally some ideas to differentiate some of the other navigation items, the similar ones like timeline, schedule, things that could be probably easily and were easily confused that we saw in the tree test. Awesome. So main thing I want to highlight here, we have no idea if this is the right answer, right? But if we're looking at this navigation, we're seeing that people are struggling to, or inefficiently or frustrating to find the thing that they're looking for, in this case, to reschedule a consultation. We probably have some ideas on what can improve that. And these are things that we can quickly test out, which I'll show you in a second. So I like these ideas. Let me see if there's anything I like totally didn't think of that you guys came up with. Ongoing manage project, rename events to schedule. You could have categories within it. Yes. So I know I kept you guys to the scope of like just changing the text, but I like all the notes, and good job putting those in here for not just changing the labels, but some of the other, bigger overhauls we can make on this navigation with information architecture. Great. So let me show you what I did. It's not that groundbreaking, but it's pretty much in line with what you guys had up here. So the TLDR of my UX writing upgrade on this was to totally take out the word events and call that appointments. And in other areas, I took out manage and kind of changed that to schedule or reschedule. Again, this is based on, and the way I actually did this, based on my best guess, some competitive analysis that I did, no hard research, but just looking at ways to improve something that's clearly not a great experience, a great navigation experience, and being able to test it out quickly. So a lot of you guys had same ideas, me probably some better ones, but this is what I went with. Literally just changing the labels of these, not even getting to the structure, hierarchy, information architecture, just changing them into something that I thought might be more intuitive and easy for someone to find. And these are the results that I got back on this one. So reschedule or cancel appointment, we see we had 20 responses to this. We had a 75% success rate and 55% directness. And in comparison, before you guys did the study, this is what I had with my 21 participants. It was, let's bring it down here, a pretty big improvement on this. On our initial, we had, let's go left to right here, original, 21 responses, 19% success rate, 75% success rate, and a 55% directness. So look, is this a totally groundbreaking, game-changing update to home list? Probably not, but we can see it moved the needle for sure, even in a relatively small sample size. And more so what I want to highlight is this is quick to come up with a potential improvement, to test it out with a tree test like this, and then retest it. And more importantly, to implement those changes, to change the label of something in a navigation, is a way lower lift than something larger like a new feature creation or a new tool that you're building. So it's one small example, but I wanted you guys to see this and get some experience with really the lowest possible lift that can, when added up, have a big impact on an important aspect, especially of the dashboard, which is making it easy and intuitive for users to find the things that they're looking for. And while I can't say this completely conclusive research over, I would say that my solution and any of the solutions that you guys put up here in the post-its would probably be an improvement. We'd probably see some lift there, and that'd be progress with some really quick testing and research. Awesome. All right, so let's go over to our next one. We're going to go right up here to our home list updates and email notifications. So follow me up there, and let me just check the chat, see if there's any questions here. Okay, so how many participants would you typically recommend for this type of study? So that is the constant question with any of these. I would say that it depends, obviously, and I know that's not the answer that everyone wants. If you're going to do a massive overhaul on your navigation, totally break things down and build them up again, if you're working on a feature that is going to make or break your product, let's say, you're going to want to do more than 20 responses on a tree test. But the other side of that is that with a lot of studies, especially something like this, you will reach a point of diminishing returns on that research. You might, even if it's not, let's say, statistically sound, or you have a huge sample size, there's going to be a point where you're starting to see themes that make you feel confident enough to change events to appointments in this case. So my advice for something like this, and especially with Lyssna and getting started with it or running a test like this, is to do 20. Get 20 responses for something like this. It takes minutes to recruit 20 people from the panel in most cases, and go from there. In some cases, depending on the decision, that might be enough for you to go in one direction or another if it's not like a super high stakes design decision. But in most cases, it'll probably give you an idea for a follow-up study, maybe some different wording or some ideas to improve it, and some ways that you could test out or improve the way you're testing it out with a larger sample size. That's a huge generalization that I'm making there. But my main point is starting small with these. It all depends on how confident you want to be with the data that you're getting back and the statistical significance of it. But starting with 20 people in something like this, that's how I would go about it. See if it moves the needle at all, and then consider if I want to validate that with more participants, or maybe even continue to iterate and try to improve that and test it again. All right, so let's go down to our next one here. Home list updates and email notifications. This is the last one we're going to work on today, but this is our next scenario that I think will be a little bit more fun than the last one. Okay, so users of home list, someone who's using it to manage and hire for home improvement projects, they get emails about updates, new appointments, and activities on their jobs or from their contractors. The current email, like the one you're seeing here, feels friendly and celebratory, but they don't make the next steps clear. So this email that you're looking at, your project is one step closer to kickoff. You've got an updated document in one of your active home list projects. Log in to review, respond, and keep up the momentum towards a completed project. Ready to take a look, see what's new. I went pretty vague with this one. Friendly, upbeat might be mistaken for good UX writing in a lot of cases because it's positive, it's human, it's encouraging. But the reality is that it's not helping users or the contractors towards their goals. If someone gets this email and skims it and doesn't really understand the actual meaning of it, which is that a contract's been updated and you need to approve it to start your job, and they just delete that email or breeze past it, it can be really friendly, but that's going to delay the project. That's going to leave maybe frustration or a need for a follow-up from the contractor. And it's going to miss an opportunity to really give them the real experience, positive experience, not just a pleasant email, of having a project that moves forward quickly, seamlessly, that they're in communication with, and that they're updated on at each stage. So this is a great use case for a 5-second test, which is what we're going to look at here. Attention spans are declining for sure. And a 5-second test is a great way to make sure that you convey your message quickly. 5-second tests, what they look like, we'll do it in a second, but you're basically presenting a design to the participant and you're giving them, could be 5 seconds. For this one, I did 7 seconds to look at it, try to remember as much as they can, and then asking them one or a few follow-up questions after that. This is a great study for something like this email, where you want to make sure that the messaging is clear, even in a brief couple moments that someone's looking at it, that they understand, hey, it's time to approve this contract or your job won't continue, or you won't be able to start the project that you're working on. It's great for headlines. It's great for a features page if you're highlighting the benefits of something and want to see if people can digest that and recall it in a quick snapshot. Lots of different use cases for a 5-second test, but I wanted to focus on one that was a little bit more functional and a little bit more impactful here, because if people don't get what's happening here and don't get the implication or don't improve or approve their contract, that's going to have a real negative effect on their experience, the job, and probably with the contractor as well. So here is the email. And let me share the 5-second test with everyone in the chat. It's going to skew our results a little bit, but luckily I have screenshots for all of them. So I'm going to put this in the chat and you can participate in a 7-second test. This is not a 5-second test. So go ahead and click on that one. I'll give everyone a couple minutes to walk through it. You can give me a thumbs up when you're done. And we'll check out some of the responses and try to improve it with some UX writing. I know we're almost at time. By the way, everybody will go a little bit over, but I have super quick wrap up at the end, give you a couple minutes to work on this. So if you're down to hang out for an extra couple minutes, stick around. If not, it'll all be in the recording. All right, that's going to, like I said, skew our results a little bit since I just talked through the example and you guys are already working on an improvement, but I wanted to share what that study looks like. I give you an idea what it would look like for participants and what it would look like if you were seeing it fresh. Really good study. Again, in line with everything else we've talked about. Simple, fast to create, fast to distribute and recruit for on Lyssna, and just like in this case, something that could give you some really impactful results with changing the text. All right, so here I'll show you my results from this that I got before you guys did it, which were not good. Now, I got all this qualitative information of people to recall what it was about, to ask them what they would do next, and to get a sense of how urgent or time sensitive they felt it was. Again, one of the main issues with this original one that you just went through, and as we saw in a lot of the feedback, is that people couldn't really grasp it quickly, and in most cases didn't see that it's something they need to take action on or something that could delay their project. Very friendly, but not super clear about those next steps and not very effective at moving the job along and relaying the main thing, which is, hey, check out these updates to the contract, approve them so we can get started on your kitchen remodel. So as you guys have already started, how would you improve it? We're getting results from the study that you just did that it's hard to recall. People aren't really, they know it's an update on a project, but they don't really know the next steps. They might not know in a quick 7-second snapshot the purpose of it, the importance, let's say, of it. And we get this kind of fluffy, friendly language that misses the mark on an important part of the customer journey. How would you improve that? If we were to run this exact same study again with your updated version, what would you do to see people recalling it more accurately, understanding what it's asking them to do, and also being able to articulate the effect of it or the impact of it after just seeing it for a few seconds? So we'll take 2 minutes on that. I'll show you my example, and then we'll do a super quick wrap up, get you guys out of here to enjoy the rest of your day. While you guys are working on that, Lou, I'm just looking at your question. I think it was about the tree test one. You could triangulate the data with an analytics platform. That could be a signal that's signaling you to a potential problem. So maybe if in your analytics or site browsing data, you're seeing that people are spending a long time trying to find that reschedule appointment, if you're seeing that people are taking a wonky path to rescheduling an appointment, those could be signals for you to see that, hey, maybe there's a problem here. Maybe our navigation is getting too crowded and confusing. Maybe we should test that out. So whether you're like connecting with that, if that's something that you're seeing as a trend, absolutely, that could be one of the sources of signaling that you might want to test that out, or that there's some confusion or inefficiency in people finding what they're looking for in your dashboard. All right, so let me check out what you guys got for this. I will say this was a sneakily tough example. When I was doing this, I was like, oh, I'll rewrite this and it will be so clear, so much better than the original. And then I thought about what 7 seconds looks like, and I started doing what all you guys are doing. Backspace, move that around, put it on the side. Like, how do we really concisely communicate this in the right tone, but also getting the message across as quickly as possible? I'm seeing some good stuff here, though. Let's see. It's got your project needs attention. Contract's been updated in your account. Here, whoever, if you moved the thing, just hit undo and I'll bring it back. Sorry, that's the risk of all of us working in the same file. Luckily, I can figure it out. Contract's been updated in your account. Log in to review, approve new documents, keep the momentum going. You have one new update for a project. Log in to review and keep up the momentum. Your account needs attention in order to ensure your project stays on schedule. Nice. Your contract needs your review. Log in and approve updates if you have questions regarding. Now I'm seeing some good updates to the copy there. And also, there we go. Looking good, Amy. Also some good updates to the button copy, which I didn't highlight, but is part of what we can make some changes on. Jenna, I like this, looking super pro. Take action now, review contract, review documents. Good. Not much space to work in, but I'm seeing some good improvements or potential improvements here, directions to go in. All right, let me show you what I came up with. Again, not totally groundbreaking here, but this is what I got. Please review and approve your updated proposal. This, I was going to take this out, but I left it in just to show you guys my work in progress here, where I had a little bit more context. My overall thought process was that first email was so like general and fluffy, like a project in your home list account. I was thinking, let's get the point across to the call to action, clear choices, but also include some stuff that's going to be like signal to them, hey, this is about your kitchen remodel project. These are the changes in the proposal. So slightly different from what some of you guys had, but overall, same idea of front and center, review and approve your updated proposal, a call to action, view and approve proposal. I actually don't really like this because it might signal to someone that they would accidentally approve it just by clicking that. So I'd probably rework that, but similar idea here. All right, now I have not looked at the results for this one, so let's do that together. First, let's see the original, or we could compare with it. This is all qualitative data that I was getting back, but I ran the exact same study here with the updated email or notification. And I'll share the link to the original one, but there is, I can see here, now that we got more responses in this, that there is much better comprehension of what the email is about. Let me put this link in the chat. Let's see how we did here. If you were to take action on receiving this email, what would you do? Not sure. First, take a look at the kitchen, approve the work right away, click the blue link, click the button provided, read it and determine whether the service or not, click the button, tap the button if there's any. So this one, I would say I'm doing a really quick synthesis on some of these, but I would say like the action after this, if I were to go back and retest this, I'd probably reword this question. These were similar to a lot of answers in the first one, which was like click the button. And what I was really looking for is if people knew the next step of like approving the contract. So that could be something just based on this test with 20 people that either is a product of the wording here, because clicking the button is actually a super logical answer to this, or maybe it not coming through of the actual, what I was looking for is what's the next task you would have to do. We have some quantitative stuff here. Time sensitive, do you think the update is pretty similar, a little bit of an improvement to the original. And let's see, sensitive because it's about the kitchen. If not done, problems may occur. Work can't start without the approval. Not clear with the workbook. Didn't have time to realize what this was about. Got the sense that the work is held up, but the communication was not stressing anything urgent. So maybe I went a little too light on it. I would say in terms of a quick synthesis here, this was an improvement from some of the first responses of the fluffier email that I sent, or the messaging, but I'm actually happy this was not like a slam dunk improvement, because you can see that while it was a little bit more clear and we got more people who were being able to reiterate what it was about and like what the actions were, there's still some stuff to improve. I think this one stands out to me. I got the sense the work is held up, but the communication was not stressing anything urgent. When I wrote this version of it, I was trying to keep it still friendly, positive, keep the same tone. And if we were to continue work on this, maybe a further iteration would be something that is a little bit more urgent, extremely straightforward, blunt. Approve your proposal to begin your project. Action required, action needed. Some of the stuff that I saw in your examples could be another direction to go in that. Either way, though, we've got a slight improvement here. We've got some directions to go forward with. We've got some real data and responses from users. We've updated it without any code or imaginary like major feature improvements. We're changing text pretty much. And this example could be something that has a huge impact on the user experience. If we did a great job of continuing to refine, test this, really lock in that 7-second test, and seeing the comprehension go way up and people really understanding it and what's happening, that could lead to a smoother hiring process of contractors, smoother job project process, quicker payouts, less headache, frustration for clients and contractors, a lot of things that are going to flow down from it, all from some really light testing and very light product changes, in this case copy, that we just had to work through and continue to iterate here. I'm seeing down the line and now actually curious about running another test. If anyone put a Post-it note next to yours, or if you want to come back and work on it, maybe I'll run a couple studies with some of your examples here and share the results with you guys so you can check them out. Because I think some of these are better than what I put together. And I'd be curious to share the comparisons and see if any of these did a better job of stressing the impact of approving your changes in your proposal. All right. Awesome work, everybody. Let's wrap up from here since you have spent more time with me than you bargained for. Thanks for joining, everyone. I like to end with some key takeaways. As I said, you guys will get the recording after this. You'll get all of the access to this FigJam. I'm going to share some other resources and some stuff for preference testing, and I'm going to come back and check this out to see, maybe run some other studies or iterations on it. So put those in this file, put a Post-it next to them to test, and I'll come back and check it out, follow up with you guys with some results. But key takeaways, even though we went through a lot in a little amount of time today, things that I hope that you leave with at a minimum from our workshop. UX writing, hopefully, if you didn't see it before our workshop today, you do now, that it's more than just creating a vibe or a friendly tone or communication style. That can be an important part of it and can be a very valuable way to implement UX writing. but it can also make a really big impact on how users experience your product. Just in the examples we looked through today, it can change how people find things that they're looking for. It can create a more intuitive experience rather than a frustrating digging experience. And in the one that we just looked at, it can actually be a major link in the chain that could make or break how smooth a kitchen remodeling project goes. Next takeaway, great copy. UX copy isn't magic or creative genius. It's about understanding users and their scenarios, goals, behaviors, and how they communicate. Just what we did here, digging through some of those responses to the email. I don't know right off the bat what is going to get perfect score, perfect retention in that 7-second test. I have some ideas. As you saw, I tested them out. And while they moved the needle a little bit, they didn't, like I said, it wasn't a slam dunk. So I'm going back to the process, just like anything else in product design, not about coming up with something amazingly creative right off the bat, but more so to stick to that process of learning, iterating, putting it out there, and listening to some of the stuff we looked through today makes it a lot easier to do that, sticking to that process. And finally, improving UX writing is one of the most efficient, impactful ways to improve your product. Keep going back to that idea of low-hanging fruit. Any product that anyone's working on here, there are probably a whole backlog of things that you want to improve, things that you could make smoother, things that you have a hunch are frustrating or have room for improvement. I would bet a few of those have some link or some factor of UX writing that could be improved, if improved and tested, could improve some of the bigger goals and experiences in there. So think about those in your day-to-day work. Outside of the big features and upgrades and design refreshes, what are there opportunities to test and change some of the little stuff, the copy, that could actually make a big difference? If you had key takeaways, drop them in here on a Post-it, and I'll be happy to check those out. I'll come back to that in a sec. Thanks for joining. I hope you feel like better, more confident designer, UX writer than you were an hour ago. And I'd say beyond this, mostly what I hope is that you guys will find some opportunities, whatever your role is, to put this stuff into practice, because there's really a lot of opportunity for improvement, and UX writing is something that can be overlooked in how impactful it is. If you have any questions on this, feel free to reach out to me, and hopefully I will see you in another workshop soon. All right, everybody. See you.